Good morning, everyone, and welcome to part 5 of our special webinar series featuring the U.S. Patent Office. This is presented by the South Carolina Research Authority and the Kim and Leahy Law Firm. I would like to remind everyone that today's presentation is being recorded and will be emailed to all registrants later today. And if you have questions during the progression of today's webinar, please type those in the Q&A chat. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Kimberly Williams. Kimberly is a patent business analyst with the U.S. Patent Office, and she has over 25 years of experience as a patent examiner, which is instrumental for developing application DOCX validations in the Patent Center. And without further ado, Kimberly, take it away.
And hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly Williams, and I would first like to thank the South Carolina Research Authority for having this series. And I don't know if you can tell yet by my accent, but I am a proud South Carolinian, and I am delighted to speak with you today. I've been with the PTO for 28 years, and most of that time I was a patent examiner, and I began my career to examining facsimile patent applications. Then it was color printing, wireless communications, and finally augmented and virtual reality. So you see, I've had quite a technological journey in my career. Now, when I would meet someone at a social gathering and they find out that I work at the USPTO, they get excited and they would ask me how to file their applications. And I always hoped that I could offer some insight, but I couldn't because by the time that application arrives at an examiner's desk, it's already filed, it's already ready for examination. And that all changed because I'm fortunate enough to obtain a temporary assignment. I had it in our e-commerce department, and I was hired permanently, and I've been there almost 4 years. I'm sure that my colleagues at the PTO have given you much insight into the intellectual property basics, patent searching, patent application, and claim drafting. And so now you're ready to file your patent application. And so my desired outcome for you today is to make that process easier for you and to show you that if you can place an order online, which if you're like me, you've done that a lot recently, I'm confident that you can file a patent application with ease and much success. Now, currently we have two filing systems. One is EFS Web, and then we have our newer modernized tool called Patent Center. And I'm going to discuss some of the differences between those two systems. And I will emphasize using Patent Center since it will be replacing EFS Web in the next 12 to 16 months. And I want you to keep in mind that our filing systems are for your completed patent applications. And it doesn't offer prompts to create your application, or it doesn't tell you what documents you need to file. But the USPTO does have a Pro Se Assistance Program, an Inventors Assistance Center, and an Application Assistance Unit, and that'll give you some general guidance. Now, you may know when you file electronically, you may file your application in a portable document format or a PDF. But did you also know that you have the option to file your patent application in what we call structured text or DOCX format? And you will hear me throughout this presentation refer to that as DOCX. So with that, I will share my screen. Now, what is DOCX? As I mentioned, it's structured text, but it is a word processing file format. based on open standards, including XML. And it's supported by many word processing applications such as Microsoft Word, Google Docs, and LibreOffice. Now, some of the benefits of filing in DOCX format is that we have an automatic metadata detection and scrubbing. So let's say you created your text document and you have some author comments and bookmarks in your document because maybe you have someone you want to collaborate with to look at your file. And if those are inadvertently left in your document, we have the detection when you file in DOCX format to scrub that from your document. And also what you get when you file in DocX format is you will get a feedback document, and that document will show you if there are any warnings or errors in your document. And it shows you that in real time. And your abstract is a brief summary of your application. So if when you see a granted patent and on the front there's a small abstract, well, there are some requirements for that abstract. And that's a proper word count. And you talked about drafting claims in the earlier webinars, or you learned about that. And so there's some validation checks about claim numbering, minor informalities. Claims have to be a single sentence, making sure that that kind of structure is there. So not content, but just the structure. And you will get a copy of that DocX document for you to look at for and download before and after completing your submission. Now, one of the things you learned about a specification, the claims, and the abstract, those are the main components of your patent application and your drawings. And so in DocX format in Patent Center, you can file all of those items in one file, one structured text file, and each of those sections will be detected and split for you, and you'll get your validations. You'll get the document code assignments for those things so you don't have to select them. And you don't have to convert your structured text into a PDF for filing. We've eliminated that process for you when you file in structured text. And as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of programs that you can create your structured text document that you may feel more comfortable using. So you have your Microsoft Word, you have Google Docs, Office Online, LibreOffice, and also Pages for Mac. And we have a lot of fonts that you can use for your DocX document because when in the past when our customers have used PDF, they would get a non-embedded font error. That is the most common error when they upload their PDF, but DocX eliminates that because they offer a list of acceptable fonts that you can find on our webpage. And as I mentioned, it's safe and stable to author your documents. And it will reduce the time. You won't get as many non-compliant notices if you have some of those small items out of the way. It will enhance the quality of the examination because you will get these content-based validations that I mentioned. And what you submit is what we review. Now, starting January 1st of next year, there is a surcharge that will apply when you file a new non-provisional. Now, you have learned about the difference between a provisional and a non-provisional. And the provisional was where you have a year to you file the provisional and you have a year to file a non-provisional. So when you get ready to file that new non-provisional, and that is also referred to as a 111A type application, your specification, your claims, and your abstract have to be in this DocX format, or you will get an additional surcharge. Now, as I mentioned, we have two filing systems currently. One is Patent Center, that's our newest one, and then we have EFS Web, which is the older system, still is effective, but it's the older system. And it has limited DocX functionality versus we've expanded that functionality in Patent Center. Each of those items, the specification, the claims, and the abstract, when you file in the EFS web system, you have to upload each of those separately, each of those sections. But in Patent Center, the new technology allows for you to just give us one document and we detect and split, as I mentioned. Also in EFS Web, you may file the 111A, the non-provisional application that I mentioned. But in Patent Center, you have the ability to also file your provisional in DOCX format. And then we have other types that, such as the national stage application and follow-ons that you may file on the same day. And one of the cool features about Patent Center versus EFS Web is in EFS Web, you can select the file from your computer and upload it to the system. In Patent Center, you have a drag and drop feature. And I think that's really cool. You can drag and drop multiple documents at one time.
And Kimberly, if you don't mind,
Yes,
we had a question that came in.
sure.
It is, when numbering claims, does DocX format check permit me to include alpha formatting to the steps of the process claim, or comprising the steps of A, B, and C?
Okay, please repeat that question.
When numbering claims, does DocX
Yes.
format check permit me to include alpha formatting to the steps
Oh,
of the process claim?
it does. Thank you for
Okay.
asking that question. So yes, a lot of the a lot of claims can have claim one, and then it has some steps comprising A through E or whatever. And yes, we can detect those. We detect those, and you won't get a warning or an error saying that you have a misnumbering or something. And this screen that I'm showing here is just the regular authentication screen when you sign into Patent Center. You have to have your email must be associated with the USPTO.gov account. And once you have that, and those steps are on our web page, the USPTO's web page when you get started on how to apply. But once you have that, you're a registered user. You can sign in and use two-step authentication to get into our systems, or you may use the system as a guest user. But keep in mind, when you're a guest user, you won't. You will have limited functionality. As a registered user, your saved applications and items like that will be on the system. Now, this is going to be the Patent Center dashboard where you would sign in. And what I'm going to show you today is the training mode. So this is the great thing about Patent Center that you don't get in EFS Web is there is a training mode. So if you wanted to know, for instance, the person who just asked that question about the claims, if you have your claim set, you can enter training mode, upload that document, and see how the system would respond if you had actually filed that document, because none of your data is saved in training mode, and the data that you enter is not submitted to the USPTO systems, and these applications are not associated with you in any way, not associated with your customer number. It's not even associated with your address. So it is a simulator. It is a great way to try out any documents. You can also upload PDFs in training mode as well. And you'll recognize you're in training mode because you'll get that bar at the top that lets you know that you are. If you were already signed into the system, you would get a pop-up that asks you to exit out of the system because you're going to go into training mode as an anonymous user. And when you file in DocX, so once you've entered our system, you have to enter your application data. That tells us your name, your address, who you are. We have three methods for entering that application data. One, we have a ADS online form, or we call it the web ADS, where you'll have some requirements to fill out. Or you can go ahead and download the AIA 14 application data sheet that we provide at the USPTO, already have that filled out, and then just upload that into the system. And then we have the no ADS method where you will just manually type in all of the items. And so this would be your correspondence address, your name, or your inventor's name, names of the attorney, things like that. Now, this is the drag and drop feature that I mentioned. So as you can see here, I'm filing in the top left, I'm filing a utility non-provisional 111A type application. And I have the ability to upload my documents by drag and drop, or I have the ability to select the button and from my computer, I will upload my desired documents. And what happens when you do that is you can get a series of errors and warnings as applicable. And errors have to be corrected before you can file. So you can't continue through submission if you have an error. And if you have warnings, which are located in this yellowish box here, you can still file with these warnings present. You may desire, let me just go ahead and file this application and let me hear from the examiner. I'll make those corrections when the examiner tells me to. But you can also have the ability to do that ahead of time, and that's what you get with DocX. Now, this feedback document is valuable to you. And this is a link, and it will show you exactly where those warnings and errors occurred in your document. It takes the guesswork out of it for you. And also at the very bottom, you see that the application sections that I mentioned, those were detected because they were all in one document. And on the right, you see these three vertical dots that shows that you can edit the document description, you can remove the document and make the corrections and then re-upload that document. And then when I mentioned you have the ability to see the DocX pre-submission, that's where you can download that DocX file. And this is a sample of the feedback. The feedback summary is for this presentation, it's broken up into 3 slides. However, you will get one complete feedback summary, and that shows you your entire application that you uploaded, and it shows you how many independent claims and dependent claims you had, and it will pinpoint your errors and warnings for you. So as you can see here, it pinpointed at the bottom right about the specification paragraph numbering. And in this claim section, it identified independent claim 1, and it also pointed out some of those minor validations that I mentioned. Maybe for instance, you made the mistake of making claim 3 depend on itself instead of on 1 or 2. It lets you know on the right that there's a warning that that claim is improper. It tells you why it's improper because it's a duplicate claim number. And because that claim depends on itself. So that's the kind of claim validations that you would get. So not necessarily your content, but your format. And then for the abstract, as I mentioned, the abstract shows up on the front of the patent. And that abstract can only be a single paragraph, and that abstract cannot be over 150 words. And so this lets you know that this abstract is over 150 words. And so now that once you've filed your application, you want to go back and check on some things with your application. This is what we call the retrieval portion of Patent Center. And so what you would do is put in your application number, or if you were an attorney and you used an attorney docket number, you can use the drop down beside application, select attorney docket number and put your attorney docket number in. And you can go to your actual application that you filed. You have the application number. And once you get to your application, here's the intuitive application viewer. And that intuitive application viewer shows you all the application data that's present in your document. As you can see at the bottom, your correspondence address, the inventors, all the applicants, and the red box highlights the documents and transactions. So every document that you filed, you can view it by selecting that. So any applicable areas here are in blue, and they're grayed out if they're not applicable to this particular application. And I wanted to point out under the application number, you see that it's a private view. So that's for you. That is a private view for your application. You are a logged in user. If you were searching a public document, it would have a public view, and you can see that document if it's public. And also in the retrieval section, The red box highlights that each section that you filed was split into three: specification, abstract, and claims. And you have the ability on the right to do a quick download of the DOCX format, a PDF format of that document, and also the XML. So you only filed the DOCX. The conversion to PDF was done for you. You can download that right now, and then you can download the XML as well. And this is also some of the correspondence that you can use in the workbench portion of Patent Center, where you can view your saved submissions. You can save your submission. So let's say you're working on that application and you needed to take a break. You can save that submission for up to 14 days in Patent Center. In EFS Web, you can save it for 7 days. But in Patent Center, you have the ability to save for 14 days, up to 14 days. You can view your applications, any correspondence that you've had, and any of your receipt history. You have the ability to see that all in the workbench of Patent Center. And so right now, I want to give you a quick demo of using um, Patent Center in the training mode. And so how you would get there is, this is our, and I am sharing the screen, yes.
Yes, you are. We can see
You
it.
from the USPTO.gov page, that's www.uspto.gov. If you selected patents and under the Find It Fast section, that's how you would get to Patent Center. So all of this information is here. So this is our Patent Center information page. It gives you all of the benefits of using Patent Center. It gives you also some links to getting into the electronic filing system, or EFS Web, that I mentioned earlier. And also any information specific to DocX that I just pointed out. We have a page dedicated just for the structured text. And the training mode that I'm going to run through with you right now, there's a quick overview. If you don't keep up with what I show you today, there's a quick video. It's about 3.5 minutes, and it will show you exactly what I'm about to show you now. And also, um, we have DocX filing training webinars. We usually have 2 a week. We post new ones all the time. And we have another one coming up next Tuesday. So this is the dashboard that I mentioned. And if you were going to sign in as a user, you would sign in on the top right. But here at the bottom is the training mode that I told you about. And so you're going to switch to that training mode, and it just reassures you here with the pop-up that this data is not saved. As I mentioned, this is a simulator. This is just for you to practice filing your application. So I have gotten my great idea together. I am ready to file it. I'm going to, and let's say I just want to see how it's going to respond. So I don't want to do my actual filing yet. I want to try it out. So I'm going to select that I'm a new submission. And I'm going to select the 111A type, utility non-provisional. Now the warning comes up just reminding me that I'm a guest user. And these are the 3 options that I mentioned where you have the ability to upload your application data. I'm going to select the no ADS method, and I'm going to put in some information that is required. So um, that is my title. And then I'm putting in my first and last name. And then I'm going to fill out name, address, city, state. All right. So if you uploaded a form or used the web form, you didn't have to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag and drop my multi-section document into the file. And as you can see, that is a real-time validation. And it lets me know that I have some issues. I have some issues with my specification, paragraph numbering, and with my claims, and I have an abstract issue. And if I want to know, well, exactly where is that issue occurring, I would select the feedback document. And this feedback document, as I mentioned, is a single page, and it gives me a summary at the top of all of the warnings and errors that it may have found, and it will pinpoint each location of each item. So I have duplicate paragraph numbering here pointed out. I have a claim that I've submitted. I have 4 claims that I've submitted. It's identifying the independent claim here. It's warning me that this claim too depends from itself. It's warning me that it's improper, and it's warning me that claim 4 doesn't end in a period because that's one of the requirements. The claim must contain a single sentence. And if there was a, a comma here or exclamation point here, it will remind you that the claim must end in a period. Now, this feedback document is only available to you pre-submission. So you would save that to your computer if you desire, because once you once you submit, that feedback document is no longer available to you. And as I mentioned, you may file docx format and PDF simultaneously, because some of the documents that you file are not going to be available for docx. So you can still file. That doesn't stop you here. You can file. So here, I'm going to file my PDF of my drawings. And so here I'm going to use the type ahead feature because I'm going to select my drawings here. And so it takes the docx, it takes PDF, it can mix and match, it can take either or. And so now, if I wanted to make changes to these some of these errors, I don't want it to go down to examination with this, I can remove that document. So I removed the document, I made all of my changes, and now I want to try it again to see, did I fix those things? I did. There's still a feedback document. The sections were still detected, but I don't have any issues. So I'm happy. I'm ready to go. I press continue, and here's where your entity status. I can select. It's defaulted here to regular undiscounted. I can change to a small entity. I can change to a micro entity, and you will manually input that I had, maybe 2 pages of specification. I had 4 claims and 1 independent claim, and I can go on to get my fees calculated. You can also skip your fees um, and pay later, but it just lets you know that it can cause, delays if you don't pay the appropriate fees at the appropriate time. But I will continue to the fee page, and let's say, oh, I miscalculated. I had 5 claims. I had 5 pages of spec. You can always edit that information, and only the fees that are applicable to your application are here. So if you had selected a different entity status, you'd have a different price. And then you would select your appropriate fees. You would select continue. And your review and submit page shows all of your application data. It shows the documents that you uploaded, and it lets me know that the fees weren't calculated. Now, for the purposes of this simulator, I still put this information in. But it will not email anything to you, so you can put in a dummy address. And and you can feel free to select submit in training mode, because it is not submitted to our systems. And what you would get is your electronic acknowledgement receipt. You get a dummy application number, which would be a series of nines. And what I like about the summary is it shows you all your application data, it shows you the documents, and it also shows you a secure hash. That's your digital footprint that shows that what you filed is what we review. And so that is your review from top to bottom of the training mode. And don't forget, you can see a video of this very process on our DocX page. So with that, I'm going to go back to EFS Web. As I mentioned, EFS Web, it does not have a training mode. So I've just shown you a couple of the slides here where you're a registered user filing a utility 111A, just like we did in the training mode. And you enter your ADS information, as I showed you before. And here's where you would attach each section separately, as I mentioned: specification, claims, abstract separately. You click upload and validate. Because this is filing in DOCX format, you will still get your validations in EFS Web. And for the feedback document, it says your uploaded file here. That's where you could find your feedback document. And when you are satisfied with, you can make those corrections, as I mentioned, by removing the document. And then you would select the submit button. And once you select that submit button, you get a pre-acknowledgement receipt, and you can select to pay your fees now or later in EFS Web, and then you would get an acknowledgement receipt. So that's the same steps, except you would just upload each section separately. And then when you want to retrieve, I did not mention our pair system, because in Patent Center, you can file and retrieve in one-stop shop. In EFS Web, you file, but in pair is where you get all your information after you filed. And you get the same if you file in DOCX format, you get the same DOCX, XML, and PDF choices, but you have to go to private pair for that to view your application. Now, you've learned a lot today. I've said a lot today, but for more information, you can go to our uspto.gov page /patents/docx. We have an electronic business center, which is a great resource for you if you have any need any assistance, or you need to report any issues. And I also recommend that you go to our idea scale campaign if you use the system and you have some ideas for improvements to our system. And I definitely advise you to sign up for the uspto.gov /subscribe to the patent alerts, because it lets you know anything that's happening, even the events that I pointed out that we have coming up every other week. It shows you that we've added more events. And so with that, that concludes my presentation.
Well, thank you, Kimberly. Where in South Carolina are you from?
Well, I was raised in the small town of Edgefield, South Carolina,
Okay,
which,
well, we had a viewer that said you don't have an accent, so
oh
congratulations
my
on
goodness,
that.
look at that. Because I certainly don't get that when I'm here in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. They know that I am from the South. But then I went to high school in Charleston. So I spent 4 years in Charleston. Um, so I've been from on one coast of the state to the next. Um, I love South Carolina.
Yep, it's a great state. Well,
Yep.
does any of our viewers have any additional questions? I'll just give you a couple moments while we just wait here real quick, since we've got a couple of minutes. And I haven't seen anything come through, but I just want to remind everyone that today's presentation was recorded, and we're going to email that to everyone later today, all the registrants and everyone who attended. Please, if you would like, take the survey that's going to pop up once this webinar commences. And be on the lookout for upcoming webinars. You can go view those by going to the SCRA website and going to our news and events tab. You'll see a SCRA webinars area, so you'll be able to see all those there. And we're booked out until December, so we've got plenty of webinars for y'all to enjoy. And our next webinar is actually next Thursday at 11 a.m. and it is the Path Beyond Patent Insurance. So definitely join us for that. And Kimberly, I just want to thank you for joining us today, and everyone else for attending.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
All right, enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.